You're now watching two old farts making noises. Welcome to Canadian Art Today with your host, Paul Constable.
Well, the third time is the charm, Paul. For the people
I
that
hope
don't know what's
so.
going on, we've had a little technical difficulties this morning, but we're good now.
Yeah, well,
We
we're
hope.
hoping.
So
We got audio.
we have audio, we have
We got audio.
visual, we have an artist, and so for the people that don't know the show and that like the show, up here somewhere, I'm going to put. David's not here today, so there will be no scroll. There'll be a whole bunch of information at the end of the program on the YouTube stuff that we write. But up here, for the people that you have never seen the show, that seen the show, that want it to find it easier, it has its own playlist within our channel. So we will put that link up here. You can click it and you can watch all the artists now and the next 20 years forward that Paul interviews, and you never have to watch any of our other stuff if you don't want. So there you go. There's the commercial. So welcome. So we have a wonderful pop artist today, I understand, like a female Andy Warhol.
We do. We have Brandy Saturley and from Vancouver. Now, yeah, she's an iconic Canadian pop artist, I guess, doing pop art, of course.
Cool.
And she's a full-time contemporary Canadian painter and multidisciplinary artist. And her work is continually searching for that genuine understanding of Canadian consciousness. So she is a graduate of Emily Carr University and also studied at the Royal College of Art in London, UK. And I'd like to welcome Brandy.
And there we are. There is
Hi.
Brandy.
Hey. How are you guys?
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
I got no visual of Brandy at all.
Really?
Just see, really, Brandy's there.
Yeah.
I'm here. I can see you.
I am having internet issues, so we're going to have an audio conversation, and Brandy's going to show you these lovely photos of her work, her actual paintings. So
yes,
yeah.
Yes, I'm in my studio right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We're showing. We're just so Paul, you know, we're showing Brandy and the two paintings behind her. There you go. There you go.
It's just weird. Yeah, just weird. I can't see Brandy at all. She's not even showing on the screen.
These things happen. Yep, she's really here. It's not like April Fools, and we're not punking you. And there's like we're not showing like dinosaurs eating people. You're all good. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good to go.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I welcome everybody to Canadian Art Today, and I'm welcoming Brandy as well to our program. I think we're on a couple of. There she is. She's over in an overlapping way. We're there, so we have some. Maybe you can see my lips move every once in a while. Now, artists that are somewhat focused on art making as a career have a motto, or some saying that they have stuck on their wall or something like that. Brandy, just an opening question: do you have any kind of motto that you run by?
I do. There's one that always stands out to me and has over the years, painting hockey and whatnot. And that quote would be, you missed 100% of the shots you don't take. And that was from Wayne Gretzky. And I've always liked that quote because it really talks about what it takes to be a professional in any business, in any vocation. And I really view art as being a full-time business. You know, beyond the art making and beyond the wonder and the imagination. So for me, everything I do, everything I smell, everything I see, everything I touch, everything I taste ends up in the art, and everything I do comes back to the art making. So that's really how it motivates me in my career. It's a full-time, more than full-time job. So.
No, it is. Yeah. And I don't know, just whether it's just being a Canadian artist in our own Canadian market, it's a small market, really, if you think about it. And it is a lot of work for everyone wanting to be a full-time artist. If you stop rolling the snowball stops getting bigger and stops moving. So
That's a very good analogy. Yeah.
yeah, and that's sort of how I mean, and the snowball thing is, as you roll it, you gather things around you, and those things become part of you. And I like that how you're saying you go and you're doing different things, how they affect all that you do. But the snowball analogy, you're right. It is probably because it all collects and hangs on to you, right? And
Yes. Yeah. It's a great analogy. Once you
sometimes,
have that momentum, you want to keep pushing that ball and building that snowball.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And
yeah.
sometimes it's hard to shake some of that stuff off, and it gets embedded right into you, I guess, is the words that go. So, what does it mean to be a Canadian artist? Like an artist in Canada, an artist, like a living, breathing artist in Canada. What's it like being that? I guess you're in a constant search for this. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled extensively across Canada over the last, I don't know, I guess 10 years. And what drove me is, I mean, in Canada, we tend to think of ourselves as local or market locally or create based on things that are surrounded by us or that we're surrounded by. For me, I live on this little, or not so little, but island on the west coast of Canada. And I feel like we're in our own little biosphere here. And for me, it really was important to travel across Canada because I always saw myself as having a big career, not a local career. I was never really interested in that, and I'm not sure where that came from, but I just always wanted to do as much as I could wherever I could. So I've been to galleries, museums, artist studios, stayed in communities across Canada, just trying to gain an understanding of the bigger picture of art and artists in Canada.
Yeah.
And through that, it inspired my work. So my work really is my journey across the country and everything, every conversation I had, every person I met, every place I went. It's all a culmination of those experiences.
Right. So do you feel that you're constantly searching for the icon of what is a Canadian, what is Canada? Do you feel that sometimes it's kind of a regional thing a little bit as well?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Depending on where I've been, um, it is different regionally. What is considered an artist and what artists make, and how their practice works. Yeah, I'm just trying to get back to that question where it's like there are regional differences that I've noticed as well in just community. So, for example, the West Coast in BC, I really think of nature and trees and people that are environmentalists. In Alberta, it's more business oriented. It's surrounded by the oil. Everything is affected by the oil there. It's more about people to me. Like BC is trees, Alberta is more people. Saskatchewan was a completely different experience. Manitoba, very much community, big time. Toronto, big city. So Toronto for me was like everything, everywhere, all the time. And it was about being the artist, the pop artist, right? So
Right.
there are definitely regional differences in the way we think about ourselves and the way we express ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if our regions of our country do influence art and artists.
Mm.
We have, our indigenous artists as well are so varied, from our north country, from west coast to east coast. So, but I'm trying to say, is there an icon that if someone else from another country saw it, they would know that it was Canadian? Is there something like that out there?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think if you look at the media, that icon would be hockey or a goalie's mask or something like that.
Right.
Perhaps the mountain, because Lauren Harris has become so famous for his mountain paintings. You know, when I travel or I go to Mexico or Hawaii, it's like, do you live in igloos? That question still comes up. I mean, it's kind of surprising to me, but it's one of those things like, do you have sled dogs? Do you live in igloos? You have Mounties. All these things are what the media has put out there. So people, when they think of Canada, I think, begin with that. And of course, the landscape.
I guess, yeah. And we do, you know, we do have the icon that does fly around all the time. That's our flag, the leaf, I guess.
Sure.
And of course, we have the aging one was our Mountie that is always there as well, which is in every little hawk shop there is. So trying to make, it's a tough thing when some people say, what is a Canadian? And you're trying to take your art across the border or across the ocean and try and stand out from the rest of them. Like if you went to Benally, right? What would it be? Were you trying to be something like New York does? Or what would it be that would be Canadian, so Canadian? If you went to the Biennale in Italy, what would we take there to show that?
What would I take to the Biennale?
Yeah, what would you take there if you had to go to the Biennale?
Well, that's a really good question.
A lot of times, you know, thinking they know what ice is, but do they know really what hockey? I mean, they've got European hockey teams now, and they're quite proficient, so they're aware of it. But where would we stand? We're a pretty young country yet, but
very much so.
How do they see us?
Well, when I was in London, I went there thinking I was going to paint my Canadian perspective of being in London and sort of, you know, kitschy things about London. And my part of my heritage is from Cornwall, England. So I thought I'd focus on the Union Jack, which is such an iconic image worldwide, and paintings like that. And I began with painting the Union Jack when I was there, and what I ended up painting was abstract. So much more abstract than I usually paint. But what I realized in painting more abstractly is all my paintings really came back to the sort of figure of an icon or vibrant colors, which is something I'm known for. I really painted my inner feelings more when I was there. So if I went to the Biennale, I could see myself taking a giant painting, or maybe a couple. I've been working on hanging loose canvas on the walls, which is something I did when I was at the Royal College of Art, where it was unstretched, it was in the moment, it was inspired by the place. So I think at the Biennale, it would be really cool to show up and paint something live, like performance art, which is something that I studied in England and something that I love as well. So maybe something more performance-like.
Yeah. Would you do something kind of hockey-like? Would you do a hockey scenario or some kind?
Yeah, there could be hockey. There could be hockey for sure. There could be soccer even. I mean, I'm over in the Biennale.
Yeah.
So,
well, that would be.
You know, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
Well, I was just thinking also, like, I'm really drawn to those pop art outlines and edges and sort of vivid logo type compositions, if you will. So I could also be incorporating flags in some way.
Yeah. No, I think those biennales are really good to get out our vision of the world, I guess, and an identity as to we are here, like jumping up and down,
Yeah.
waving our arms. We're here, over here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel that with a lot of artists, it's just, they're kind of frustrated with not only just trying to get out of their local markets a little bit, and it's difficult getting even into regional markets because they're filled by those regional artists that are filling those venues. So there's a lot of competition out there for that space. It's valued space. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, there's of course a ton of artists on the planet, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of talented people in the world. But what it comes down to is, I feel like if you're the one who, if you're constantly pushing yourself, and what I mean by that is pushing your ability as an artist, your thoughts about what art is, and also the potential of your market. Like I mean, the opportunities are endless, and there's room for everybody who wants it and works hard for it, and stays focused. It's interesting because I got an email from a painter that I'm a big fan of 2 days ago, and he reached out and said, "You're more Tom Thompson. You're like Tom Thompson or something like that. You're Tom Thompson Canadian or whatever." And he said to me, "Stay focused." And he's in his 80s now, but his big thing to me was stay focused. And I think that's a great thing to say, because to be successful in this business with so much competition and so few opportunities, you have to create your own, and you have to go for it.
yeah, I find that if I saw any of your work, it would stand out as your work that's unique. So you've worked on a body of work that over the years, I think 17 or 20 years, you've been working on this. Uh, and well, you see it, and you see early development stages of it. And sometimes I'll see stuff on social media and I want to comment. I should just zip my lip a little bit and see what she's doing. You don't want to influence people, but a lot of times you can say, "Oh, there's a direction going there." And I know as an artist, sometimes you get lost in where you're going. So
Yeah,
sometimes it's nice to have people comment, even if it's, it could be anybody just saying something, but you
yeah,
can take,
absolutely.
yeah, you can just
Yeah,
take it.
I mean, if someone connects to the work in whatever way, even if it's in a negative way, I like to hear it because it means I'm causing a reaction.
And it's good that you can take that, because when you're in social media, you're out there, right? So you don't know
Yeah.
who's looking at that. And it takes quite a bit. You only get a small percentage of people who actually comment back of your following, or of people that may actually see what you do. So if you put out a piece of reactionary work, or a piece that really resonates with people, that's a check mark. You got to really, you have to savor those moments, I guess, because that helps you focus if that's what you're doing. Um, so what kind of goals have you got here in the next 5 years? What's your 5-year goal?
5-year goal. It's funny because before I started painting full time, I worked in a world of what's your 5-year goal? And when I started, I had those goals. And what I found the last 17 years doing this full time is that um, goals in this business are moving targets. So you can make a 5-year goal, but if you want to stay relevant and you want to keep that snowball rolling, you really have to move with the moving target, right? So, I mean, the ultimate goals are, I just want the art to be known in as many places as it can be known. I want to continue doing public gallery shows, residencies, commercial galleries. I want to produce a book of my work in the next 5 years for sure. I haven't done a hardbound book yet. The other thing is I had a short documentary filmed here in my studio at the beginning, just before the pandemic happened. And I'd like to, I mean, they approached me at that point, but at this point, I'd like to take control of the reins and do my own documentary. So those are some things that I have in my head right now. And of course, a lot more paintings, a lot more travel.
No, it's nice that you have to put those together, and you've got to feed your energy. Like where is it coming from? And I think if travel is where that feeds what you're looking for, because I sense in your work a lot of it is it's a constant hunting of what is it like, what is a Canadian, and that's the one thing I can really put down with your work. It's hard edged, and it's very definitive of um, people, like different types of people. And I think you did a unique call for entries a couple of years ago for couples or something. Wasn't there something like that? That trying to make sense of them sending you a selfie or selfies and you do a painting of them. How did that work out?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where it came from. It came from I love the paintings of Grant Wood and his portraits, and of course his most famous portrait, American Gothic. And I thought to myself, well, I need to paint a Canadian version of this, and how would that look, and who would those people be? So that's where the whole thing started, and then it grew beyond that, where I wanted to reach people across the country, specifically people in rural areas that may not have access to galleries as much or have had experience with going to a gallery or seeing art. Um, so I requested from the public, send me a selfie of you and someone who means something to you, who's a significant person in your life. And I'll do an interview with you. And then from that interview, I will create a background that will go with this portrait of the two of you. So it's called the People of Canada Portrait Project. I started a website. I have all the stories on there and the interviews, the original photos, and also the paintings.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll post all that on Artists in Canada as well when we get that
great,
thing done.
great. So it's been an interesting journey because I actually got to connect with people across the country and expatriates, so people that are in other countries that are Canadian, um, that never would have hung a painting on their wall or had been in an art gallery or a museum. Or so we had discussions around their life, but we also had discussions around art. So I feel like it was a positive experience, I hope. So it was interesting for me. It was it allowed me to connect to a lot of people and get their thoughts on art. So that was great.
We should maybe try and show some people some stuff that's in your studio. We don't have access to images here today for some reason. So, but you have access to images in your studio, like actually the real.
Yes.
So
Should we start with what's behind me?
if you could go and just present a couple of pieces, I guess, whatever's possible.
Sure. Well,
Move about, and I can see the two that are behind you right now, which are
yeah. So this one here is oh, goodness. I have so many now. I forget the title sometimes. Glide Away. So I started thinking about, rather than doing hockey stars and NHL stars and well-known hockey players, I thought of going back to our roots and that enjoyment of skating on ponds and lakes and that sort of thing. So this is just a group of people enjoying skating on an outdoor lake, which is a pastime that takes place in Canada quite a bit, not on the West Coast, but I wish it did out here, because I watch these people on these outdoor ponds enjoying winter, and I'm jealous. Even though we have a mild winter out here, I think it would be so great to skate outdoors on a lake here.
Yeah.
So, and this image over here, also that joy of being on the outdoor lake, frozen lake. It's a child making a snow angel, so it's a very dreamlike, caught in the moment image. I'm just gonna pop my iPhone off my tripod here and we'll move around a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
How's that?
I can't see much of anything, so you just you do the best you can. I've frozen up here, and I'm just an audio at the moment, but I can see the
It's
occasionally
perfect.
statics that are coming up. I just have an internet feed problem, is what I've got.
So just a bit of a closer look at these two.
Yeah.
And then I have another one here. It's Canada 150 tulip.
Okay. Yeah. I think I remember something like that. Some of the visuals. So you're putting together florals as well, like working that into the landscape.
Yeah.
It's almost a still life, a little bit in a
It's
way.
very much so a still life.
Yeah.
Oops. For me, it was during, I did some public exhibitions in 2017, which was the celebration of Canada's 150th birthday. So I was doing paintings for the exhibitions, and this one caught my attention. This flower caught my attention, and I didn't know there was a special tulip for the celebration, but this is what this is, and it kind of looks like a maple leaf in the center. So
It does.
it's
Yeah.
quite a beautiful tulip.
So the analogy of the tulip and then the ocean, I guess, is that what we're going to call that, or a lake? Is that
Yeah.
the water and the sky?
Yes, it's a very pop art style ocean with simplistic mountains in the background and clouds and sky.
Yeah.
That vibrant ultramarine blue against the red really pops. So I
Yeah, it
find it
feels,
to be kind of soothing.
it has, to me, Brandy, this one has a welcome to Canada feel. Here, the arms are outstretched and the leaf is there. So there's a feeling that I get from that is welcome to Canada.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's in a, you're trying to find an object to say that. That's difficult to do. So, that one can be maybe thought, the white of snow as well, right? And have a little
Yeah,
bit of,
absolutely.
so you have, I think snow probably is one of the images that people see when they come to Canada. They're shocked by some people that have never seen snow before. But
Absolutely.
heard about it. They've heard about it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's
So we'll move on to this one. This is, oops, bear with me. My camera skills aren't great right now because I'm trying to do it backwards.
well, yeah, well, I'm accepting whatever you can put up there.
Yeah, so this is a portrait of a Ukrainian dance group in Edmonton. It's called Shumka Dance.
Right. Yes.
And these kids, some of them have come from Ukraine very recently to join the dance troupe and dance here in Canada. So,
Right.
yeah, to me, the timing on this was good because my heritage includes Ukrainian, so I feel that pull of everything that's going on in Ukraine right now, and
yeah, it's a travesty for sure. It's
yeah. So
yeah, just look at the picture came up. There it is. I'm seeing that now. Yeah, yeah. You can see the kids, the variations in their faces. They all have that
yeah,
different look in their face, their eyes. They're not all, they're there, but some of them aren't as happy as they'd like to be. I'm sure there's lots of worry on their faces. I can see that.
certainly, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a very talented group of kids. So,
So we'll take you to some iconic paintings. So this is the Goalie's Mask painting, which is a painting that I've toured all over Canada. It's probably the painting I'm most well known for.
yes, it's an earlier piece too, is it not?
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah, yeah. So is that from is that a Ken Dryden mask? Is that where that was?
That is the Ken Dryden pretzel mask.
Okay.
And I've painted it against the Canadian flag that's split in two,
Right.
with a blue line down the center.
Yeah. So a number of other artists have done this, not this exact same thing. Ken Danby painted the goalie, and
He did, yes.
Ken Danby, and we've got a couple of other artists now that are painting more and more. I think there's an artist in BC, Clark, who paints fairly realistic figures in hockey figures. But it's a different kind of thing, Brandy. So you put yourself into a lot of these there's like selfie type portraits, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how and why you're part of your pieces?
Sorry, can you ask that question again?
I said you're kind of doing a lot of self-portraits of yourself in your work. So I'm just wondering, where did that come from and the reason for doing that?
Yeah, I feel like it's important to do a self-portrait every year. I feel like it lets me examine my artist self in the world. But it also, by me painting myself into these Canadian landscapes and my comments about Canada, it really allows me to see myself in the art world in the way of a woman in the art world. So I'm putting myself into the conversation of art in the world and in Canada. So in a lot of my work, really, I mean, even though it shows symbols of, I mean, I think any artist, your work is autobiography. Your work is based on all those experiences and conversations in life. So ultimately, my work is autobiography. So yeah, I'm just putting myself into the conversation. I've been painting myself in front of snippets of Lauren Harris paintings, and perhaps a little bit cheeky, but it's just my comment on adding myself to the conversation and putting myself out there in the world.
Yeah. No, and it does give a context of I was here, right? I want to be here. Actually, I feel like it's more like even I want to be here.
Yeah.
It's not so much that I guess some of those you probably did visit those spaces, but it's like when you put yourself in there, it's a dreamscape. It's like, I want to be here. I want to be known to be there. I want to be there. I want to live there. I want to experience that space. And a lot of them, I see the back of your head most of the time. So you're looking out. So that's a lifetime. You can do that when you're 80 or when you're 25, right? Your hair color just changes, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a really well-known BC artist here. And for whatever reason, I can't remember her name, but I've been a big fan of her work for a long time. Over the course of, I don't know how many years, she painted a series called The Group of Seven. And it was her and her husband naked in front of different landscapes. And it depicted her and her husband aging naked. So I thought that was very brave. You know, I don't know if I'll paint myself naked at any point, but it sort of came from that, you know, sort of exploring myself aging and the different periods of my art in Canada, and yeah.
Yeah, I guess you just missed Naked Gardening Day, didn't you?
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it was just
Darn.
last weekend. There was Naked Garden. It was a little nippy in some areas, I would think, but
Yeah. Not here. We're pretty warm here right now.
Well, we've actually had some nice weather here as well. It's actually heating up. Actually, we're in a drought again. Alberta's got fires, and yeah,
yes, I've heard about the Alberta fires.
But lots of unique pieces of art happening because of those fires. I've seen some amazing sunsets and smoke-colored imagery. Like artists are again responding to what's around them.
Yeah, I mean, that is the role of the artist, right?
Well, it is, and I think, and I like to hear you say that too. And it's like, how do you feel like your role? What is your role? Like you said just now, what is the role of the artist?
Well, I mean, ultimately,
You've got big shoulders. Go ahead. You can do it.
ultimately, we all as artists start out young, right? And hope to do it our whole lives. Shaky hand. There we go. I really believe that our role is to record culture and respond to culture and respond to things in the world and have our voice heard and share our voice and you know, we're like philosophers or musicians writing music. We're a record of the time and we're expressing it through our art.
Yeah. Yet we want some individuality in some sense. Like even the group of seven, all seven of them didn't paint the same way. So
No.
they saw the landscape similarly in one way, and then after a beer, they saw it truthfully a different way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So they had a commonality. Let's go to the north and we'll do this. And they came back and their work did look different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they influenced each other, whether color palettes or things, but they had a way that one wanted to work a little more streamlined than others, and some were a little freer. And it's great that I think we all have to have that, but it's nice to have the thread that does hold us together to say these are Canadian artists, but they see our country a little differently, each of them. But they're kind of the same. We're sewing with the same material, but we're going to make different outfits. And so you mentioned a little bit, who are some of those artists that you kind of, I don't know, admire, I guess is the word, or not so much. I guess maybe the word is admire. And they don't have to be Canadian. Do you have someone that you kind of use as a sounding board, even in a book or something?
You know, artists that are no longer with us. Certainly, George O'Keeffe has been a big influence on me wanting to paint and how I paint. Prudence Heward, Lauren Harris too. His works are just so vivid and so distinctive. Contemporary artist Kent Monkman, really love his work and everything he's doing and everything he's saying in his work.
It's very adjective work. He's really shaken up a lot of things with that, his work.
Yeah, love it. I mean, he's making work for artists.
Well, and he's creating heat for a lot of other people politically.
He is, but I mean, I think any great artist stirs the pot a little bit. So
if you've got the backbone to do it, do it.
Yeah, it does take backbone. Like I know, even when I've approached some subjects, I'm very careful because I know when I paint certain things, they might agitate certain people. And I'm careful because if I'm not willing to deal with the repercussions of that being out there so much and having my stuff everywhere all over the internet, it could be tough, difficult to deal with. So you need a bit of a firewall there. Like you need someone who can sort of be that in between you and the public.
You need a pseudonym, right? You need like a writer. You can write that cheesy, sleazy novel, but you actually can write really good stuff on the other side too. Live both lives. But there are artists like that, and they'll have a body of work that they say do not release until after my death, because they are worried about their career as well. And making a living is a big part of it. And everybody's got a boss. I hate to tell everybody's got a boss, and whether it's a future boss or an existing one, and it's based on your career that you build as you go along. So you can quickly destroy something if you don't want to, if things happen. So I just go back to you've mentioned residencies, and did you not do a Banff residency as well?
Yeah.
How did that? Did that skating stuff come from some of that? This last batch?
Most definitely. November last year, I was invited to do a residency at the Banff Centre in the Leighton Studios. I was awarded a fellowship, Paul D. Fleck Fellowship, for my time there. So I had a beautiful studio, standalone studio in the woods, like a beautiful, big, architecturally perfect for painting studio with skylights, surrounded by snow because it was November. And stayed at the Banff Centre and was able to access all the facilities there and communicate with the other artists while I was there. It was really cool because there was also there was a group of mathematicians there while I was there, and there were lots of people writing music, musicians writing music, playing piano. Everything about the place is art, and the celebration of art, the celebration of continuing to learn and push yourself and grow. So it was a wonderful experience. And I love Banff. Like, the snow is amazing. The mountains are incredible. And the paintings I made while I was there were informed by my time there. So it was snowy trees and me wandering in the snowy trees. And yeah, it was a spectacular time. So I was very grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, coming from BC, you're not well, you get snow there too, but it kind of comes and goes. But no, it's kind of it is a special place, Banff is, and I guess you're not building anything more. You're not allowed really. They've got a moratorium on building, so it's as big as it's going to get. As far as I know, they've stopped that expansion. But what other residency did you do? You did another one, you've got one coming up, do you not? You have one coming up this fall?
Yeah, I have a residency. Pardon me?
Pooch Cove? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, after I did the Banff Centre, I was awarded a residency with the Pouch Cove Foundation, which is in Newfoundland. So the full month of October, I'll be out in Newfoundland painting. It's a pretty spectacular spot. So it's on the very tip of Newfoundland, very tip of Eastern Canada, very, very, very tip. And here I'm living on the very tip of the West Coast. So it'll be interesting to compare and contrast the two coasts. There'll be 6 other artists there with me with their own studios from all over the world. So it'll be a wonderful place to create new work, explore, and connect with other artists. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I was hoping to get there one day myself, but it's a very rugged piece of country and very beautiful. A friend of mine has been in that area, and the photography he came back with was just amazing. And
I bet.
Yeah, so not the weather, just for the weather there. Yeah. Not a lot of plein air. you either got rocks in your boots to hold you down so you don't get blown away.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to paint around a rain slicker.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I think it'll be a wonderful experience.
They built brand new studios there, so it sounds like you did a major job, and I guess you do get to have a little bit of a show, from what my understanding in that place, which would be an awesome thing to do.
Yeah. So it'll be. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of excited. Just keep watching you, because we see ourselves through you. I think that's what a lot of Canadians do. So as you discover what we are, show us what we are, because we don't know what the hell we are.
Yes, you do.
It seems to be a coincidental Canadian thing, right? And
well, yes, I know what you're talking about.
We have a lot of new Canadians coming this last 25 years, and they sometimes maybe have a better sense of who we are than because they're becoming, assimilating, wanting to be Canadian citizens, and they know more about Canada, some of them, than we do, because we forgot all the stuff that we should be learning and remembering and being part of. And they have a refreshed reason for being here that we sometimes have forgotten the privilege that we have. So
Yeah.
I'm
Me.
really, yeah. And so I try to listen to some of that a little bit, and from people, and yeah, it's privilege. It's a privilege to live here. It truly is.
Yeah, it's a privilege to live here. It's a privilege to be an artist in Canada, and pursuing a path of loving something that I love and something that I've loved since I was very small. So I have a friend who's immigrated here from, well, she came as a refugee from Vietnam
Right.
during the Vietnam War. And I recently painted a portrait for her, but she came from Vietnam when she was 14. She got on a boat. Her parents were left behind. She's waving bye-bye at 14 and coming to a new country where she doesn't speak the language and is put into a family situation where she doesn't know anybody. She's grown a business. She's brought over her entire family from Vietnam. She loves Canada more than anyone I know.
Yeah. No, in my video, I was going to have one image, a closing image here with you, and it was you sitting on top of all your crates,
Oh.
your shipping crates. Well, this is putting that maple leaf on your sleeve, as you call it, and it's like when that package goes through the courier system, they know it belongs to you. So, can you talk about how you package your identity as you move through this process?
Well, one of the things I did for one of my exhibitions was I had to have a ton of wooden crates built to ship all the artwork out to the gallery. It was 30 paintings, so it took a few crates. And so I had custom crates built, and then I decided that it would be really interesting to paint the crates, the exterior of the crates, so they could become part of the show if there was room, and there was. So the crates themselves became a bigger figure in the show almost than the paintings, because the thing with the crates is they've been painted in these simplified red and white images. Some of them are graphic depictions of the paintings that are within. But the other thing about the crates is they get used over and over again because they're specifically made for shows. So every time they travel, they carry a history with them themselves. They end up with dings and marks and things that add to that exterior. And then I paint new things on them. So they've become an interesting figure in my work. And every painting I sell myself directly, I ship in a hand-painted wooden crate.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I think that's that's the giving part, but it's also the visible part because it's large, right? They're large
Yeah.
pieces, and when you can stack something up, that's a major thing. Like it's like an installation if you think about it.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, and you can control that by the size of the boxes, and you can bring some different things too. You know, hang a deer skull on it or a head on it, and a moose, and
Yeah,
different
yeah.
things. But I'm just saying, you
It's
know,
interesting. I have a collector in Mississauga, and when he got his crate, he decided it was too beautiful to recycle. So
oh,
he took the crate and varnished it, sealed it closed, and put it in his backyard in his garden.
oh.
So it's like a wall in his garden now. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah. And the box gets small enough you could put a coffee table out of it or something. And
Yeah, I do that with my crate.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Well,
But
I know the problem.
to me,
Yeah,
part of the idea behind the crates was sort of looking at when musicians travel and they have those crates that carry their instruments.
right.
So,
Yeah. No, you have to have identity as you go through what you're doing. And I found this is a personal thing that if you it gives you more, I don't know if the word's not credibility, but there's a sense of security a little bit and understanding and of what you're doing when you wrap things up nicely that is yours. It's a pride in what you do.
yes.
And I think if you can make it so that it is special. I guess that's the nice word. That's the word that it is. It's special to you, and then when people see it, they know it's over the top special. Like, this is going to be good, right?
Well, it is special. I mean, when you're selling an $8,000 painting, it better be in a nice package.
Yeah, why not? Why would you just? Yeah, no, it's very true. I had a friend. I'll just tell a little story. I had a friend who used to have an art material store, and he had bought it from an old Scotchman, and he was selling Mayfair paper, which is like, it was $2 a sheet or $1 a sheet in the day. But he said, what you do is you put these white gloves on. He said, when you sell it to the ladies, he said, you or anybody, you take out those sheets one at a time with the white gloves on, and you put it on the table, and each one is precious.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and he made sure that they did that. And he said, and that's the way he treated his whole business. And he had a very successful business over the years, as he put white gloves on when he presented all of his products, whether he was handling, when he was handling any paper products, he never handled them with his hands, always with white gloves. So it's kind of, and I think artists need to do the same kind of thing. Package it right to the very end, because that customer will return, and he does tell other people. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, you always nurture the forward. Well, Brandy, it's been an awkward conversation, but great for radio for me. But
I liked it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I enjoyed the whole thing. So wait, I have to ask my standard questions before Paul kicks you out, so to speak. So if somebody wants to buy the hockey mask painting, is that for sale?
It is. It's $91,000.
Canadian?
Yes.
All right, so it's like $6 US. That's fine.
Yeah,
And then
totally.
it's like pesos. We're good. And then what's the range of your artwork from? I'm assuming the high is 91,000. And so, what's your artwork start at and go to if somebody's watching this or listening? Go, I have to have a piece of Canadian pop culture.
I mean, most of my pieces are sort of in the $5,000 to $8,000 range, but I do have some small pieces, small works that are in the $900 range. So
I saw those. Those were the bears. I was looking at the bear and the wolf and the otter.
Oh, yeah.
I check out the stuff. I just don't sit here and look pretty all day. But now, do you get a crate with the $900 painting?
I'm sorry, not with the $900.
See, right away you have to spend at least $35.
But you get a hand painted, beautiful box.
Oh, well, see, that's okay then. So, because you got to use that. So it's very cool. Well, I just want to say this. Thank you so much, Paul. You were wonderful. And all I thought of during this whole interview, other than how gorgeous your artwork and how profound what you were saying is that this reminded me of one of those bad Japanese movies from the 60s. Because you would be talking, Paul would not do anything, and there's stuff coming out of his mouth. And then a few seconds later, Paul's moving, and there's nothing. And I was like, this for me is going to be one of the best interviews ever, just because of that, as well as your work. But I loved it. So thank you so much. And all your links for everybody will be below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, you're going to have to go to YouTube and go find them. But we will have this all there so you can find Brandy. And if you can't find her, reach out to us here at Two Old Farts, and we will put you in contact with her, and she will sell you one of her gorgeous paintings.
Put in word clouds or something in little
like thoughts. Like little thoughts.
Thought clouds, yeah.
Little thought
well,
clouds.
It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Okay.
It'll be great. Brandy, thank you so much. Paul, as always, a pleasure. We'll see everybody next Thursday. Stay with us for a few seconds. We have to play the ending. David's not here. He's very proud of this, so we have to do this for him.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brandy.